Well, hello. Here I am again with the yes or no answers to some big questions, some bigger than others, admittedly. This one is sort of maybe medium. Um the question is should we study Latin? From time to time, there's a kind of a spurt of interest in Latin in schools, and then it seems to die away. And so I thought it'd be useful to put a little perspective on it, what the arguments seem to be in each direction. So let's start out with the yes group, those who advocate the study of Latin. Well, number one is a kind of a conceptual answer. A case can be made for the fact that the study of Latin helps one to think methodically. The futurist Yuval Harari, he's the, I think, Israeli chap who's written Sapiens and Lessons for the 21st Century. He says we're teaching all the wrong things in school. Uh, Simply making kids memorize facts for the sake of it is kind of increasingly irrelevant because, of course, they can get those facts instantly from a telephone these days. Uh, the the real need is to equip them to think in such a way that they can reinvent themselves as necessary, simply to keep up with the crazy pace of innovation that's going on in the world today. So therefore, what we need are courses that teach us to think methodically and analytically, and Latin really does seem to be one of those. It has rigorous rules for language, and but it teaches us to be quite analytical as we are translating Caesar or Virgil. The second aspect of Latin is that it prepares us for uh, study of language in general, simply because the whole grammatical structure, the way the language is put together, is so wonderfully orderly and systematic that once you've mastered Latin grammar, you really are prepared for any other language in a way that well, a few other languages would prepare you. Uh, Similarly, the study of Latin, of course, is a good basis for learning a number of the so-called Roman languages that are based on Latin, like Spanish and Italian and Portuguese, even Romanian. I do remember, even though I'm not a particularly useful linguist, I do remember the first time I ever saw a Spanish newspaper. I could pretty much start reading it because of my Latin background. Of course, a lot of words I didn't know, but I got the general gist of it. Okay, another one is that there are some professions where Latin terminology is used a lot. I suppose most classically in botany, but also in medicine, and certainly a lot of other sciences. Um, and then finally, if you have aspiration to become a cardinal in the Catholic Church, you jolly well better learn Latin. You better learn, in fact, not only how to read it, but even how to speak it and understand it. Because the Catholic Church, quite sensibly, I think, is operates in Latin and issues all of its official pronouncements, the encyclicals and pastoral letters and so forth, in Latin, simply because it's the one language where they can be extremely precise about what they're saying, and then it can be translated into other languages rather than the other way around. Okay, well, there's some pretty good reasons for learning Latin. Now let's listen to what some of the negatives are. Well, I suppose a first and most obvious one is that well, Latin's all very well and good, but there's other things that are more important. We simply don't have time in schools and in the curriculum to be able to study everything we'd like to. There are constant worries and complaints about the arts being pushed aside by other more practical studies, and so Latin, in the eyes of many, certainly comes pretty far down in the list of priorities. We don't need Latin in order to get a job, really, I guess is what that says. Secondly, I think there's a sort of a social context to Latin. I think a lot of people see the kinds of people who throw Latin phrases around as kind of pretentious ponces, really, that are trying to impress you in an elitist sort of way. And I just don't want to have anything to do with people like that. They're really not in my gang, and so the less I hear of them and of the Latin phrases they spout off, the better. And finally, I'm going to have to get a job at some point after I get out of school, like it or not, and I'm really doubtful the Latin's going to prepare me for any that I can think of other than teaching Latin, or as I said before, perhaps aspiring to be a cardinal in the church. On the other hand, probably a lot more useful would be to take lessons in cookery or truck driving or something similar, but not Latin. It just isn't very useful. Well, after all that, what's my take? I guess my take has to do with the fact that I did have a lot of Latin in school, and I really liked it. In fact, when I had the opportunity, I chose it over some other subjects. My principal reason for liking it is etymological. It helps me understand what words mean. It's such a basis for understanding less well-known words, and for words that particularly are useful in describing philosophical and conceptual situations. As is the ancient Greek. Maybe I'll do a video on that one too, because I had some of that as well. So there you go. Some of you may be really impressed, some of you not, but in any case, I hope you enjoyed it. Okay, well, give me a like if you did, subscribe, comment in Latin, and well, ave atque vale.